So we're back again, and as a reminder, if you look below the YouTube video, look under the description below it and expand that out. You have to expand it out to see it, but it's got a link to our Slack channel, a link to our YouTube channel. It's got a link to our composite index for all the videos that we've done. And I keep saying for years, I've been saying we've got 3 years of videos there. Well, I was looking last night. Turns out we got about 4.5 years of videos that are uh, posted on the YouTube video channel. And then the index has an index for all those. So it's got 4.5 years of data on that. And what else is in there? I'm sure there's a couple other links. Oh, there's also a link to my original ROS agriculture index. And it turns out all the videos got deleted from the YouTube page on that, but they're still out there marked as what do you call that? Unpublished, whatever that's called. The videos are still there, but unless you have a link, you can't get to them. But if you go back to my ROS agriculture index and find something you want to find, you just cut and paste the link from there and put it into a browser. You can still watch all those videos. So those are all still around. So let's see, that took care of that, blah, 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 blah. And the reason all this came up is because I was going through doing, my Slack channel come up here. Slack. So normally when I post to Slack, what I would do is, see, is that sharing?
No, it is not.
Okay, what I gotta do? I gotta do like this. Gotta do like this. And this is desktop 1. I want desktop 2. Okay, there's my desktop 2. And my outgoing feed says a blank screen. So I'll see if it comes in while I'm scrolling here. Again, more of the reasons I hate computers. Okay, there it is. So normally what I would do, I would come in on a weekly basis and say go down to the on Slack, down at the bottom of the thing, or down here where it says message, and it's going to post it to the random channel. If I type something in there, it will then when I hit enter, it posts it to the channel. So on this week, which is like 3 weeks ago, I just said info from this video meeting. Said I added a link to ROS agriculture videos for my flashing beacon, blah, blah. So I just got some comments there. And then right here, this whole thing is I cut the description out of the YouTube video and pasted it in here as I was making it. So there's this is all the exactly right off YouTube. And the third line there, this is the link to the YouTube video. And here's all the chats and notes and index and all this kind of stuff. And it all comes all the way down here. And at the bottom, here's the links that I keep talking about. If you look at the bottom of the video, it'll have these. Here's the link to the Slack channel. Here's the link to our YouTube page. And here's the HTML index for Lawn Tractor, and the text version for Lawn Tractor, which most people won't care about that. And then here's my thing about, I said, I published all the ROS agriculture stuff. And then at that point, that's what I'd put into the message box. And then when I post it, it comes back and it adds on this thing here with it goes out to YouTube and grabs an image of whatever the YouTube video is and puts that on the screen. And that's the way it's worked for years. I've been doing that, and it comes up. And back when I was moving and got distracted, I would just upload the video and say I'll come back and fix it later. So when I went back to fix it, I tried to edit the description back in. And when I did, then this YouTube thumbnail would go away. And I fought with it for hours and hours, in fact, several days, I think, on and off, and I could not get that to come back. And out of desperation, I just went back and deleted the whole description section. And then this thing came back the way I wanted it. So then what I did was I added, instead of putting the description, I just put a link that points out to our big composite index file with a name tag. In fact, I'll come down here and find where I did the next one. So anyway, that was all working. I've been doing that for years. That's how I do it every week. And if I come down here and find the next one, if I just search by date, it would be easier to find, but la 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 la. Okay, so then the next meeting, I said, here's the info to the meeting. And then here's the again, I cut all this right out of the YouTube video. But technically I cut it from my text-based index that I create. But anyway, this is the same information off the YouTube video. You come down here, and there's all that stuff. And here's all that. And then when I posted it, I didn't get the YouTube thumbnail like I do every damn week as I do this stuff. And I spent a couple hours on that and finally decided, well, I looked at it, thought it doesn't work again. And either something just it's a temporary thing is broken, or eventually I'll figure it out. So I just left it. I just didn't put the thumbnail because it will not post that thumbnail. And then come down here to the one from last week. And so the new method does this. It says info from this week's meeting. And here's the title that I cut out of my my stuff. And here's a link to the video that I cut out. And then it says, if you go to the HTML index for this meeting, so here's the link to the index file, and there's a name tag saying on this date, which should match the whatever it's July 31st. So it'll take you to that point. Here, let me just do this. Click on that. And with any luck, it puts us in. This is the index file. And here's all the stuff that would have been posted in the description. And then I go out to YouTube and grab the thumbnail and put it on here. So this looks like it always has. And so here's the previous meeting that would not work. And then here's the previous one that did work. And so it's got 4.5 years of these entries in here. And I noticed at one point Bob says, "Oh, I like your new index, and it's so much easier to find stuff now." Well, it turns out nothing has changed other than the fact I'm not posting the description to Slack anymore because it's screwing things up. And it's what it does. It forces you to go out to this index file that's always been there. So for forever you could have been searching this index file at will and making all this stuff work. So that technically I made no change to the actual indexing. I just changed the way I'm posting on Slack, which it's posted on Slack as a courtesy, basically. And so the description there was just redundant from both the YouTube video and the index file. So let's see. So anyway, so let's go back. Then I was going to say, I can't back up. So where was I? I was here. Yeah. So anyway, that's what the entry looked like. And much to my surprise, it did not put the thumbnail on there again. And I don't know why. Now, what I'm talking about, see, if you take this link right here, take a link to this particular YouTube video. If I copy that, and I assume this is going to work. Well, this first time I've tried this live, and you paste it in here. Now, if this were working right, then after like a second or so, it would go out to YouTube and put some stuff at the bottom there. And you can see it didn't do anything. So if I post it, it'll just put that with no YouTube link. But if I come back here and grab some random thing, let's see. Say, for instance, we take the lawn tractor automation, and stuff's in my way. I should be able to just do that, copy that, come back to Slack, come down to the message box. So if I pasted that one, and then boom, see, it's gone out to YouTube and grabbed the name of the YouTube channel. Well, it's not showing up quite the same here, but lawn tractor automation is the name of the channel. And this, where it says the ROS something, that's what are the descriptions. And now, so if I say post that, and I should have done this in my personal channel so I don't clutter up random, but so I enter that. Come on, I say, if I enter that, and then we go look at it. Oh, come on. YouTube lawn tractor automation. Oh, this one did not post any thumbnail of the page either. So something's wrong with that one too. So it just does not work anymore. So let me just go back and get one that go back up here at random, because the old ones seem to work. What's this one here? No. like this one, we were just looking at this one. So if I come up here and grab the link for that one. So this is 3 meetings back. If I take that one and copy that one and come down here and just say, paste that. Boom, that shows up. Now, if I say, see, here's what I was saying, that this is, it says on YouTube, this is the name of the channel, and this is the title that's on that particular video. Now, if I post this, boom, there, see, it shows up like that. It shows you, it starts right there. And so I just typed in this link, and then as I'm editing it, it shows up. And then when I hit post, it goes ahead. It showed this stuff on the other thing. Then when I posted it, actually pulls up the thumbnail and displays it. And for some reason, most of them work. And I found 2 of them that don't work so far. And I have no idea why. I thought maybe it's because they're too new of videos. So I just went out and grabbed somebody else's video. It was like a day old at the time. I put that in. That one works just fine too. So I'm totally baffled on this. And I'm not going to put a lot more effort into it. They're either get on here, they're either going to show up or they're not. So let me clear this junk out so we don't leave it behind. Do that. Say delete that. And this is the one that I did that also did not work. And I thought, well, maybe once you do it once and the information is cached, it'll refuse to do it the next time. But that's not true, because that one I just posted with the that tower light thing on it, if it were cached, then it wouldn't have shown up when I did this. And then if I go out to my channel, I can do all kinds of experiments. I can do it, say, 3 times in a row, and it shows up every time. So that's not the problem. So anyway, that's all got me baffled, and that may or may not change in the future. So we'll see. We'll see where we go from there. So let me say, let's get out of. On the comment about the fact that we got 4.5 years worth of stuff, we come back to, here's the original video that was on January, March 5th of 2021 is the first video we posted into this whole mess. And if you go through it and painstakingly figure out months and weeks, that comes out to 4 years, maybe 3 months at this point is what we've got. And that's, so again, just to reiterate, there's all the stuff. And see, when we first started off, the format changed a little bit. Eventually I made it say chat/info, and we just put that crap in there. And then down at the bottom, it had all the links to everything. And the first few videos didn't have any information about links. But so as time went by, this evolved, and I added more and more stuff to it. And originally these images weren't on here. And then one day I figured out, oh, I can just go out to YouTube and say, grab the image and then post it on the screen. So I think every time you open this file, it goes out and grabs these images, because I don't think these are actually part of the HTML file. If I were to come up and say, save page as, come on, save page as, say, web page complete. So if anybody wanted this, you can go out to the index and do this and say, save it, and you'll have a copy of this on your computer. I think the images will be burned in, or actually saved with it at that point. Whereas if you download the, let's see, because if you try to run the index file and the internet's down, say you had a copy of it without the images, it tries to go out the images and get the pictures, and I think they just all say broken link or something. So anyway, that's just more tidbits on, how do I get rid of it? Say cancel that. So theoretically, you can pull up the index and all the modern videos. If you go down a ways and just come down here, it'll say here it says here's a link to the HTML index for Lawn Tractor. So if you just like I did before, it's already open there. I'll just open it again, and there it is. You can then just say save that as HTML, and theoretically you'll have it on your computer. It's just that it won't automatically update on your computer. You'll just have to do that occasionally. But I try to keep these updated once a week. So technically, if you click on it, you should have the latest stuff, which is down. Here's the stuff from last week that actually has the thumbnail, because my stuff works differently than Slack does. It's either a problem with Slack or a problem with YouTube, and I can't even figure that out. Who's at fault there? So let's go back and say we're done with this for the moment. I can quickly get back to it. So let's say, make this bigger. Let's say for the moment, let's stop sharing so I can get my wits about me again here. So I talked about the YouTube stuff. It still works some way. Just you have to. Oh, so I made the comment that, so really what's on Slack hasn't changed other than I just don't put the redundant description in there. Instead, I just put a link that takes you directly out to the index at the particular entry, that particular week is where it puts you. Otherwise, all the entries are out there. Let's see, the thumbnails are broken. Okay, so another thing, every once in a while I say, boy, I wish I had more screen space doing these video meetings. And I've got a laptop screen and I got a regular desktop monitor next to it. And I never seem to have enough space, and stuff's always in the way. And then Bob was showing he's using a full flat screen TV for his monitor on his Raspberry Pi stuff. And I thought, hey, I should look into that. Because I thought when I was using a television as one generation back, and I don't know if they called it a 1320 or they called it a 2K TV or whatever it was. I think I hooked one of those up, and it had half the resolution of the modern ones. And I was thinking I couldn't really read the stuff on the screen, so I didn't really go any further with that. But then one day I went to Walmart and bought a 4K TV. So it went from like a 32 inch up to a 43 inch. But when you go look at it, side by side, one of them's this big and the other one's this big because they're giving a diagonal measurement so that as those numbers go up, it doesn't get bigger much faster. But anyway, I thought, well, I should compare the 4K TV to the older TV, the second generation TV. And I thought, well, how am I going to do that? Well, it turns out my 4K TV is hooked up to my laptop right now. I've got a 12-foot HDMI cable that runs across my floor. So normally I was when Roku sent out a privacy notice one day, I got mad and deleted all that crap on the smart TV. And I'd use my laptop to pull up either Netflix or Amazon Prime or whatever I want. And I just drag that image over to my flat screen TV, and I can watch my movies and TV shows that way. So it was all hooked up. All I had to do was pull up a window that's got text on it. I walk over to the TV and get about 2 feet from it and look at it. So yeah, that all seems perfectly readable. And what it reminded me of that, several weeks ago, Bob was showing his screen, and he says, "Yeah, here's my Raspberry Pi." And I could read his text on his screen even after I'd gone through Zoom and all the conversions and everything on YouTube. I could still read it. So I thought, yeah, that looks like that would probably work. So one of these days, I need to pull up my old TV and just swap it out for my new TV and see, is that one readable for text? And if so, it's just sitting around in the way. I could bolt it to the back of this table right here and have a nice big monitor and get 6 or 7 little windows on there and still be able to read it. So that's another thing I was going to bring up, that I was inspired by what Bob was doing, and he probably did it specifically. He didn't have an extra monitor laying around, but that it reminded me that, oh yeah, you could do that. You could hook up a big flat screen TV and have lots of real estate, and the modern ones are actually viewable. Bob, do you know if your flat screen TV is the new 4K stuff, or is it an older one than that?
I think it's a little older. I'd have to go look. We use it in our guest bedroom. So when the grandson was here, I had to give up my monitor and so he could watch TV. Now I got to pull it out of the bedroom and put it over by the computer.
Yeah.
So I'll take a look and post it in Slack.
Okay. And it turns out they're changing the televisions all the time. So it could be, there's 2 or 3 more generations newer than what I have. But the one I have seems to be working quite adequately as a computer monitor. And especially the fact that I just want to, have it here bolted to the back of my table about 2 feet from me, and just drag all my other, my chat window and my participants window, and drag all that crap over to that screen. So that would just be a handy utility monitor to have. And then it wouldn't be sitting around in the way. It would be bolted to the back of my table. So that I have to worry about my table tipping over then if I do that. So I'll have to put some thought into that. But so I just wanted to mention that that might be another option for people that need more monitor space. If you got an old TV kicking around, or I was looking at Walmart and thinking, well, maybe I could get a little one. They have like a 24-inch television but all the smaller ones seem to be non 4K. They say right on them 720p resolution, and that's just not. I think the original ones I think were 720p, and the new ones might have been like 880 or 820p, and then they came out with the 4K. And so they keep changing these numbers just to confuse everybody, I think. So I think the ones that were 1080, I think were actually probably what they would call 2K, because that's even though it says 1,000, that's close enough to 2,000 for them. So they just started making up all these names, because the new ones that are 4K, I think are actually 3,000, like 3,080, 3,800 lines or something. So they're not really 4,000. So anyway, that's just more terminology, and you just kind of have to pick and choose, I guess, to find one that works. If you already have one, just plug it in and see what it does. And if it works, it works. So that's all about the television I think I have right now. I said I might get my robot to the point where I can set it up and get the GPS working. So if Al says, how do you do this? We could go through and do it. I thought, well, I'll just drive it over by the window, and maybe I can get enough signal by the window. I thought, well, if I put my antennas outside of the window, then it'll definitely work. It may not give me the best fix, but it'll work better than, I just need something so all the menus and stuff run. And I thought, well, my back antenna now has a cable that's about this long, and it's like a foot long, or yeah, it's about a foot long. So there's no way that way I could pick that up and put it outside the window. When I was digging today for something else, I realized, oh, I've got that extra survey grade antenna, and the when I was making my measuring stick. So I had that monopod with an antenna on top, and had the uBlox F9P receiver and my cell phone. And that made my thing, I could walk around and measure stuff. Well, it turns that when I bought that antenna, I got the big long cable with that. So I got two of them with, they're like, what, 10 to 15 foot cable on each one. So if I just take my antennas off and bolt them to a board, I just open my window and lay the board out in the front yard, and then keep the robot in the house. So that I decided, I just today realized that. So I might get around and try that and see what that does. So another thing, let's see, I just had that up here. Let's see, screen share. One point I was saying that, let's see, the screen. And we'll see if this comes up. Blah, 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 blah. Screen sharing, put it over here. And for some reason, this is everything's really slow today. I don't know why. So, okay, there. That should have come up. And if I say go back to here, go back to here. Oh, this must be the first page. So anyway, I'll make note of this link. Well, no, I don't want that. I want this. I need to put this in the chat, so I have it for later. So give me a second here. Come to chat. Paste it there. Enter that there. So if you just go search on Amazon for pre-crimped cables and connector kit, it turns out that I didn't realize that you could buy the pre-crimped cables, because as at one point I was saying, you go out to Pololu and they'll sell you the wires that have the pre-crimped ends on them that will work for the Dupont connectors. So you could buy, so if you go to Pololu, you can buy these as either male to male or male to female or female to female, or whatever the four options are. You can buy them any way you want and get them in lots of different lengths. Well, here you can buy a kit on Amazon that it comes with the black ones are the Dupont connectors, and it turns out the white one are the JST connectors. That's the smaller, what are they, to like 1 millimeter, whatever they are. Here, they'll tell me right here if I look. 1.25 millimeter spacing on those, and then the Dupont connector, the 2.54, which is 1/10 of an inch spacing. That's the normal one that we Americans would use, except that you always run across things where they put these JST connectors that have the smaller spacing, and the connectors look like, I guess maybe that's the best. That's a representative image. They're just smaller connectors, and what happens is that a lot of these kits that's what they want to do. They want it to be like this. They want you to build a cable that's Dupont connector on one end and JST connector on the other end, but you can pick and choose with the housings to get, 2 pins or 3 pins or 4 pins, whatever you want, and you just piece everything together. So it turns out when you get the wires, it turns out one end of the wire has some kind of a Dupont connector. Where did that go? How do I get that? Like that. So it looks like this particular kit, all the Dupont connectors are female connectors. And then the JST ones, I think maybe are, since I don't know enough about these, these might be male and female, but they're always a Dupont connector on one end and a JST connector on the other end. What are they telling me? And they're 8 inches long, which is quite long. So, but if you go to Polo, you can get them anywhere from 1 inch up to like 60 inches, just by picking and choosing all their different variations they have. So the point was, back stop here. Come on, get rid of this. What? So anyway, you get this kit. It's just a box with housings, and then you get all these pre-crimped wires, and you can piece it together and make the types of cables you want. So that's that link that I put out. If you go down here, see there's from different companies and different brands, you get different combinations of housings and different combinations of wires. And most of them want to give you both the JST connector and the Dupont connector. So you have to look down and say, do you want the JST or not? And we were just scrolling before we started recording. We're scrolling down here and we found some that were just the Dupont connectors. And here's one that's just JST connectors. The other thing I was pointing out, if you get a cable that's a male to female on every wire, but you want male to male or male to female, or male to male or female to female, what you can do is you can take, say, 2 blue wires here and cut it in half, and then flip it around so you've got the the connector, the 2 connectors you want, and splice it back together, and then they give you heat shrink, so you can put heat shrink back over that, so you don't have to stockpile every variation of wire in order to do that. So it's just handy that if you cut it and splice it, they give you heat shrink to put on, or you could just put tape on it too if you wanted to. So that was something else I thought was interesting. And they're coming down here. There's more, let's say, JST connectors and heat shrink. And see, they have, you have to go through the description. Oh, it's set right there. It says 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, up to a 10 pin. This is a 10 pin here. And they apparently don't show the ones that are 2, 3, and 4. These, that's like a 5 pin there. So again, you have to look through it and read the details. And here's one with a JST with lots of different. Where do these look different? La 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 la. Oh, this looks like one that I think you have to say, like these bigger ones. I don't know if they're all like that. I think what they're telling you have to put a wire into it, and then you push that thing in that holds that crimps the wires in there. It looks like all these are built that way. So I don't know if that's a different variation of that kind of connector or not. So again, you got to look at it real hard and see if that's going to make your stuff work. And here they're saying, yeah, we give you heat shrink, and they're showing the ends of the wires. So let's go back to the main list again. So we're just scrolling down here, and there's still combinations of things. Here's one, it's all JST. No, maybe we had to get them on the second page. JST, all JST. And here's one, they're all the Dupont type connector, but you'll notice these are what they call locking connectors. Or they where did we see it? They're belted. No, they call them
Buckle.
So here they'll say they're belted connectors, and then the Chinese change that to buckled. So they say it's a buckled connector. So if you're looking at, say, Seed Studios, they say, oh, it comes with a buckled connector. This is what they're talking about. They've got these kind of connectors here that actually they latch together. So you put it together and they snap together, and then you have to press down on that tab sticking up. You press down, and then you can pull the things apart. And these also happen to be, see that one in the middle, it's got the tab sticking out the side. So if you cut a rectangular hole in your panel, you can stick it in, it'll snap into place. So that's a different option. If you don't want your Dupont connector popping off on you, you could get these that are latching, especially if you're gonna make an extension cable. So you get it. I don't remember how long it said these wires are. There it is. It says silicones 6 inches long. And the previous one we're looking at, they said they're 8 inches long. And again, if you go to Polo, you can get them in increments, like 1, 2, 3, 4, up to 6, up to 8. And then they have long ones that are like 24 inches and 60 inches you can get. So that's another option if you're trying to do that kind of stuff. So you back up, and I think there's one that was this one here. This one is all Dupont headers, and over here they show see they got male pins sticking out of some of them, and those are female pins. Those are all female pins and more male pins. And then I don't know what combination of wire they got, so it looks like, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to tell from that. So anyway, this might be a good starter kit in the fact if you're just doing the 10th inch Dupont connectors, because they down here they got the single row and they got the double row headers. So you just pick the header that you want, and they take your wires out that you want. And assuming, I'm guessing they're probably, let's see, here's a picture. So they're all male on that end, and they're all male on that end, which I don't know if that's what you actually get or not. If we look up here, it shows these are female pins. Those are female pins. These are male pins. So I'm guessing you get half of them are, because if we look at this picture, it looks like they're male on that end and male on that end. So I'm guessing you get some of them, they're like this, male to male, and the other ones are female to female. And these are the same all the way down. So again, you just have to be aware of that fact. And we probably get the no, they don't show the heat shrink with this one. But again, you can cut the wires and splice them together to get the proper ones that you want, and just put tape on them when you're done to tape them back up, or use your own heat shrink tubing. In fact, one of these I looked at and they showed, I said it doesn't show heat shrink, but then down below they give you like 4 long pieces of heat shrink tubing. And I guess it wasn't this ad that had that. So these seem to be JST connectors. These might be ribbon cable JST connectors. Come on, how does this work? Do this, do this. So I'm thinking that's probably a ribbon cable. And so they've got cute little stripes on there so you can tell which wire is which. And I don't think I've ever seen anybody do that before. That's instead of having different color wires, you got tracers on the edge of it. So that yet another variation. And as I say, just until a couple of days ago, I didn't realize you could buy these kits. So again, here right there in the description says belt lock. But if you buy them from Seed Studio, they're called buckled connectors. So I guess like a buckle on your belt is where they, as they do the Chinese to American translation. Here's another one that's all it looks like these are probably both single and double row. So you just have to say, what do I need? And yeah, it says 2x2 up to 2x6 and 1 by, what does it say? 1P, 2P. 1 pin and 2 pin, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you can get single row 6-pin and double row 6-pin connectors. And then you get some random assortment of wires. Again, you have to dig through and see what those are. And I think we're pretty much gone over all the variations here. These look like something completely different again. I don't know what those are. And so just because they're white, don't assume it's the right connector that you want. And look, they are the right spacing, and you would have to go through and figure out, does that do what you want? But just let's see. I was gonna say, out of curiosity, is something blocking the screen? But I look at my outgoing feed. I know it's not. I got the people talking here. I figured that was blocking something on the screen, and that has something to do with the Linux that I'm running. So anyway, that's an option, and I will put that search here. Let me grab that title, just because. Let me say, copy that, and I guess technically it says 1.25 to 2.54. So maybe if you just put in well, no, because when I actually searched, it didn't say anything about the JST 1.25, but it's showing me those anyway. So let me grab this and put that into here, paste it in there like that. Okay, so that's probably enough to be said about that. And it's just handy if you've got just a basic kit of these. You say, oh, I need to make a cable. You can go there and you can pull up the housings you want for both ends, or you can do like we mentioned one other time. You could put say a 2x6 housing at one end, and then break that into a say a 1x3 and a 1x2 or something, and you just custom make your cables as you go. So let's say I'm done wasting time on that. Pre-crimped cables, talk about my antennas. So I got a whole bunch of parts here that I ordered on eBay. Oh, did I mention this? Where, let's see, am I still sharing? Yes, stop sharing. So then you also got the option, you can buy just a box full of housings. This has like the 1x6 up to and the 2x6, and that's got a bunch of just random pins you can crimp onto wires. So I would just say if you're going to try to crimp these, you might want to buy the official crimper to do that. Or I will sometimes, if I'm in a pinch, I'll just take snap one of the pins off and strip my wire, and then take some like long nose pliers and kind of wrap the thing around it. And then usually if I do that, I'll solder it when I'm done, just to make sure it stays on there, because otherwise you crimp it and then they fall off. So these are other things, if you go searching, you can find this kind of a kit, but then you still need the pre-crimped wires to put on. And that's why I thought the only place you could get those was from pololu.com. But no, it turns out you can buy these kits on Amazon that have, it could be if I just search for pre-crimped wire, maybe say Dupont pre-crimped wire, maybe somebody will sell you just big bundles of that wire that's already crimped and ready to go. So anyway, that's our wiring minute for this week. How do you wire things up? And that minute turned into about 15 minutes, so back on my list, I have the parts. And so an interesting story that people may not want to hear, as I was telling people before, I had ordered some parts on Amazon. I ordered like a press to make hamburger patties, and I ordered what was a bag of something. I can't. I knew I ordered 3 things, one of which was a cable. I think it was this cable that I ordered. It's a USB-C on the go to a type A host connector, and then it's also got a USB power connector on it. So if you plug this in your phone to talk to things, then you can plug a charger into this. So while it's running, it doesn't run your phone battery down. So if you're going to put on your robot, just have your main power feed 5 volts into the power connector, and then you can still hook up, plug whatever you want into that host connector, and then this plugs into your cell phone. You have to have an on-the-go connector for the modern cell phones, because that USB can either be a device port or host port. And I think they just simply like short a couple of pins together in here, and that tells it it's on the go and tells the thing to switch to a host port. Really, I'd ordered these 3 things, and then the next day we had the video meeting, and we were looking at cute little oscilloscopes, and one of them had I noticed a guy had a box that it just had a box with a big LCD screen on the front and a blue pill microcontroller board, and another box with a couple of switches and push buttons. I thought, boy, I really like that LCD that he had. So I went and looked at it, and I ordered up one of these. That's the same thing he had. That's a 3.2 inch, like 320 by 240 display. And then it's got some stuff on the back. It's got an extra SD flash card socket for the big socket, the big cards. And it just simply brought out these pins on there. If you want to use it, you hook those up. And if not, you don't have to. And then under here, it's got a single inline. Here, let's try this. I was also pointing out, if I get close there, if I get close to my camera will focus. So there's a okay, switch back. There we go. So it's got a single inline connector, and I don't know, that's what, like maybe 16 to 20 pins long. And the top 5 or 6 are for the touch screen. And I assume if you don't want a touch screen, just don't hook those up. And otherwise, all the rest of the pins down there are for to run the LCD display. And so that's a case where if you had the housings, I'd go to my box here and try to find a housing that's long enough to fit on. Probably, let's say I need 8. Well, it turns out these only go up to 6 pins long. So you can either put 2 connectors. I could take the first 2 pins on there, which is the first 2 is power and ground. Come on. So power and ground. I'd make those two separate and just run that out and, you know, make a red and a black wire for that for the power, and then take the next 6 pins, then I could use a 6-pin housing. So I could make custom cables to do that. Otherwise, just get like a single inline connector strip, cut it off like you want, solder that down your perf board or something, and just plug this board right on top of a perf board. But I was thinking you made a custom cable for this, and then on the other end, pick what you want it to be. So if I've already used this on one type of microcontroller, I put that microcontroller on a perf board and then plug this into it. And if I want to use a different microcontroller, I get a different perf board, put that microcontroller on with the same kind of connector, and then plug my custom cable into my LCD. So that makes it all universal. I can just move that back and forth between different types of processor boards. So anyway, what I found was, so after the meeting, so it was like Thursday afternoon or Thursday evening, I was back on YouTube looking for this thing. And I noticed, and I've never seen this before, but it said, oh, you can order this. And you usually say, oh, since you're a Prime member, if you order this, you can get it tomorrow or in 2 days. But it also said, oh, if you order this, we can add it to your order that's going to show up tomorrow. And I thought, what? I've never heard of that before. Usually you think, oh shit, I ordered that and I should have got something else, but now I'll just wait for 6 months because, you know, I don't want to screw around with having, you know, multiple orders out. But it says, no, we'll just add that right on there. So it's basically like say, just back your car up the door and open the trunk, and we'll just start throwing stuff in until it's full. So I first of all, I didn't believe it was going to work. So I went through the whole process. Said, yeah, I want that. There's my credit card number. It says, okay, that's going to show up tomorrow. Hey, it worked. So then I thought, well, what else do I need? So while my trunk was open, I was digging through, and I since we're also looking at the oscilloscopes, and they were saying, well, you can get a Raspberry Pi Pico. Try this trick again.
Yeah.
So there's the board, and if Bob would quit talking, the screen would quit switching. So anyway, there's a Raspberry Pi Pico with no Wi-Fi on it, and it turns out you can get these 2 for $12. So I make them $6 a piece for this board, and it's just the Raspberry Pi's processor chip soldered down to a board. So it's just like a Teensy or an Arduino. It's just a different kind of processor on it,
But no Wi-Fi.
but no Wi-Fi. So if you
Okay.
get this one,
Yep.
come on, what's the trick to this? There we go.
Yep. There it is. Yep.
Here, let me switch the screen, since Bob is gonna insist on talking constantly. Okay, so there's the so those at home, this small screen now, there's the Raspberry Pi. It's got the same chip on it, but it's got that Wi-Fi, that silver thing it is the Wi-Fi, and then down at this end, those 2 little chips that forms the antenna on the thing.
Okay.
And this one costs twice as much. This is $12 for one board, and the smaller boards is $12 for 2 boards. And one of the projects, I think it's the project where they had, was it this one? No, it wasn't this one. This one he had with a blue pill board, which I've got some laying here, but no sense showing those. We've shown those about 1 million times. So anyway, I ordered those 2 up, thinking that it makes it much similar to somebody's project. They say use this LCD and this processor board. Well, if you order those boards and hook them together, it should work. So that's why I got those. And then the other thing I got, since the trunk was opened, and then it's got this board. This is one of those STM32F411 processors. Come on, focus. Play the game.
There. Yep.
There we go. So anyway, it's got the board. It's got 3 push buttons on it, and that's opposed to the other board I had. The original one was an F401 board, and it had it didn't have all these push buttons. It had a little microscopic like dip switch and some kind of a small push button, but it didn't really matter because this end, because these 4 pins here, you put pins in there and you hook up on one of those little ST-Link programming modules. Since it's being an STM processor, for me it's easier to just use the STM IDE instead of the Arduino IDE, and then you plug this in and it lets you download directly to the board without screwing around with any of these push buttons or anything on here. And then once you do that, once you load it, then you can go to debug mode, so you can actually when you run it, it'll come up to the it goes up to main and then stops. So watching on the screen, you can see the code, you can see the pointers that this is where I'm at. And you can either say go and run full speed, or you can single step, or you can go out, set some breakpoints anywhere in your code, and then say run. And then when it hits those, it'll stop at the breakpoint. You can go look at all your registers and variables and whatever you want. So anyway, this simply is, I think it's mostly equivalent to the F401. This is a 411, so it's STM32F411. And basically it's got twice as much RAM, twice as much flash. So I think it's got like 512K of RAM and like maybe 512K of flash. And then the 401 has half that much. And I'd have to look at it, see if how much the peripherals are different in it. But it's just simply that if you're using this kind of thing, you say, well, I need more power or more whatever, you can swap out. And you can also buy this exact board with a 401 processor or a 411 processor. So you can just, again, you got the option, you got the exact same pin out, pull one out, stick the other one in, and it's all ready to go. Then you just have to go in the code and say, it's this kind of processor as opposed to the other one as you compile it. And then, as I say, when my first order, I ordered this,
And the STM32 you ordered from where?
this is all from Amazon, all this
Oh,
stuff.
okay.
Because the whole point was I had my trunk opened, and by the time I was done, I had like 5 separate orders that I placed. And I thought, well, they say it's all going to show up tomorrow. And then after the later Thursday night or sometime Friday morning, it says, oh, we changed it. Now it's down to 3 orders. So 3 packages actually showed up at my front door that had all the stuff. So anyway, I was saying I ordered this cable that's got the extra power connector on my on the go connector. And when I did my again, back to my measuring stick that had the it didn't have Raspberry Pi, it had my cell phone and my F9P RTK receiver on it. I ordered a cable like this that did not have the extra power connector. I was digging for that this morning, and that's why I realized, oh, I've got that other antenna with a long cable. But anyway, I had one that did not have the power connector. It just simply had the connector that plugs in the cell phone, and then the type A connector. So that I've got that one, or I've got this one with the power connector. And then you can also buy these, which is these are just a little adapter module. So it plugs in. It's got a USB-C connector that'll plug into the cell phone. Then it's got wired inside to make it an on the go. And then it comes out to these the type A connector. So you can just put this on the end of a regular thing. You got a cable like this that happens to be a type A to a micro. And basically you can take that, you can just snap one of these on the end of that and then plug it right in your cell phone. So you don't have a lot of extra, cables dangling around, because if I got to do this, you have to do this. You get a lot of flexibility, but then you got all these parts laying around that you're never going to do anything with. You will plug in there. You will plug in there. So here on one end, I can plug that into my cell phone as a USB-C. Then the other end has this micro USB that'll plug right into the F9P board. And by doing that, that will it will power the RTK receiver off your cell phone. And then the cell phone, you turn on the cell data and say, go out to my website and download the correction data. And then it also pushes the correction data into the right into the receiver. And that's all the wiring you have to do. And you can get it to the point where you've now got an RTK receiver you can carry around, and it gives you an accurate latitude and longitude. And you load up somebody else's software that's somebody else wrote, and it still gets the correction data, but now gives you a little map on the screen. So it's kind of like a Google map type thing. As you walk around, there's a little dot that moves around on the map. So that's just another cute thing you can do. And then the last thing I thought, well, since my trunk's still open, they told me I can't change anything else. I ordered a function generator. So it's a little, I didn't realize it was a kit when I was ordering it. So it's going to be a pain to put it together. And when I look at the board, with my newfound zoom function, if you look at the, say right there,
Yep.
those 2 wires are real close together. It's because they got these little tiny capacitors right there, and they're almost touching. So I don't know how much luck I'm going to have. I put a capacitor in there and then solder that. I don't know if it's going to short those pins together or not. So that may turn out to be a problem. But this is it uses the XR2206 function generator chip. And if I had the Well, what when somebody else is talking, I'll pull up the Amazon link for this. But basically, it has three knobs on it, and there's I think a switch or jumpers or something. You can select square wave or sine wave or triangle wave, and then with the three knobs on there, there I think also some jumpers. So you get like three or four different ranges. So it'll go from like 10 hertz up to 2K hertz. Another one will go from like 2K hertz up to 50K hertz or whatever they are there. So there's things that'll do that, but it's just the fact that, occasionally I want to generate a signal, and this would be a handy thing to do that with. It also came with this crappy little case that's just pieces of plexiglass. And there's absolutely no instructions with this. I got this piece of paper here, and it's just a little piece of paper. It's got a schematic, and then on the other side, it's got like a parts list saying that R1 is 10K or whatever, but there's no beyond that. It's up to you to figure it out. So if I would have realized that up front, I may not have bought that, but I ended up ordering that. And I took the first one I found. I think I paid $12 for it. And then I was scrolling down after I ordered, I was scrolling down. Well, there was another one for $8, or maybe the first one was $11. The next one was $8. I scrolled down some more. If I was willing to buy two and wait a couple of days, not put it right in the trunk, it was down to $16 for two. So now we're down to $8 a piece for these. Was it $8? And anyway, whatever it was, again, you have to go out on Amazon and pull up all the variations and find out the cheapest prices and the best shipping and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, I bought that, and someday I'll have to sit down with a soldering iron and see if I can get that to work. And then, so I may or may not do the oscilloscope experiments. I got enough parts. So I've got parts to do. If I do the Pi Pico one, where you just take one of these boards and plug it into your cell phone, you download the app that makes your cell phone look like an oscilloscope, and then this does all the hardware stuff. So by hooking those two things together, we're like, that makes like 99% of the stuff you need to make a scope. And then there's various circuits where you hook a wire up here to the analog pin, and the simplest thing to use is a single resistor, but you can only see positive waveforms. And then another one that uses three resistors that gives you then you can see it centers it, and you can see it like a full sine wave, but you're limited to like the 3.3 volt range of the thing. And then other people put extra resistors to make voltage dividers, so you can set the scale factor, all that kind of stuff. So it seems like if you had one of these on a cell, if you have an extra Amazon or extra Android phone that's new enough to have the right version of Android, and it's new enough to have an on-the-go USB port, that takes care of a lot of it. And then they have other ones that we found last week. I don't know if we found them last week or we found them when I was digging later. You can take a cell phone and you can use the audio input. And that, I don't remember how they did that, but just a handful of parts. It gets some resistors and maybe a capacitor or two. You can actually, without putting any elaborate hardware on the output, you can actually get the signal coming in on that audio input to show up as an oscilloscope on the thing. And again, you'd have to play around to get different ranges to work and all this kind of stuff. But it's also limited bandwidth because audio goes from like 20 hertz up to 20K hertz. And 20K hertz is not very fast, but it's just for playing around, or you just want to see, is that signal a sine wave or square wave, and is it 3.3 volts or 5 volts? It may it may work just fine to do that kind of stuff. So anyway, I found out that now I've got the added problem. If I order something on Amazon, I'm going to be tempted to keep adding more and more stuff. so that's going to be a problem. But so I'll have to remember the future not to do that. By the time it's done, I could spend $150 on all this crap that I was buying. So, and that's more than I wanted to spend. But hey, it was right there and it was real convenient. And on Friday, all three packages showed up at exactly the same time, and that all worked out. So that's my list of all the crap that I didn't do this week. I had some more stuff, but I was sitting down this morning. I couldn't remember what it was. I was listed out here. So I can't think of anything else. So I assume Al wants to go next.
Bob, you want to go?
No, go ahead, Al.
Just a few things to cover. I changed up my repo structure and cleaned it up a little bit. It was getting to be a bit of a mess because I had a bunch of test stuff in. So I've got a folder for my RTK base station, I've got a folder here with my current radio control software, and then I've got a folder for stuff that's going to run on the tractor. Underneath the tractor, I started a folder for the F9P stuff, and we'll talk about that in a second. Then for the Teensy and yeah, I'll probably end up with another folder or so. I mean, because this is Python to run on the RPi, this is C to run on the Teensy. On the F9P, I've got some stuff written up on how to program the GPS units to moving baseline. It's where I'm at the moment is I've got the units configured, and I need to do the wiring to connect the UARTs. And that's when I got into trying to figure out what I was going to do with the wiring. And this is a picture of my board before I started changing things around. And I had 2 GPS units here, and I was going to have wires running between those, and decided that would be a little bit less clean than I wanted. So I took the time to sort of rethink my board layout. So at the moment, what I've got, and I can show it on screen, but I can hold in my hand the RPi, the Teensy, the 2 GPS units, and then the NRF 24 radio. I still need to put the linear actuator controller on this. But I think this will work out well for me. The other photo that's up there on Slack, I think, is the back side of that. So in an attempt to make the soldering easier, I printed off some guides to make sure I was soldering the correct thing. And just like, who was the Spanish conqueror and that was it, Cortez, who burned the boats? I've soldered directly to the pins instead of using connectors like Jeff was talking about earlier. And part of that is for the vibration and whatnot. I'm assuming it'll be a little bit stronger and less prone to losing a connection. Before I do field testing, I'll probably hot glue these wires down. This is my radio control, and that goes green when it's talking to this NRF radio. So I've, successfully got at least my NRF radio back up and running on my small footprint board. So the next step is to physically wire these UARTs, which happen to be right there, together. And so it won't be beautiful, but it'll be about as tight as I can make it. What else did I want to talk about? So I got the instructions there, old board, and the Teensy spreadsheet. I also posted, if you happen to use Teensy's, there's a spreadsheet that I posted out there that was just a nice way to have the labels, and the guy went through a lot of trouble of thoroughly documenting each of these. This happens to be the 4.1, and they're also in the spreadsheet is the 4.0. So anyway, I posted posted those out there. The reason this was useful to me is I could copy and paste that stuff, resort it, print it off, and put it on my board here because it was the underside view. So that's why I ended up doing that. And then I could add, what is this line actually going to, or what is it supposed to go to? So anyway, just a little, now the paper will come off and it won't survive, the outdoors, but at least for a while, it'll be good for me. Anything else that I posted? Oh, just this annoyance with, I had used 2410 on a NAS device. Well, it's not actually technically a NAS device, but a sort of a server. And I had to upgrade that to 2504. I guess I could have not upgraded it, but I ended up upgrading. Seems to have worked so far.
How did that upgrade go? Did you go in and just simply go into Ubuntu and say upgrade from 2410 to 2504? Or did you reload the whole thing from scratch? How did that, what process did you take?
Yeah, I used this function and let Ubuntu hopefully do what it's going to do. I received one error message during the process about a libdev folder. There's some sort of sequencing problem with that, but I just pushed on through, and what I've got going on here is not very complicated, so it hasn't seemed to be a problem yet. But
yeah, I was just wondering, as you upgraded that, was all your NAS stuff still gonna work? Did you have to redo any configuration, or was everybody just happy?
TBD, I think the very, very basics worked, is what I would say. And we'll find out later if everything is back up to snuff, but I kept it pretty simple too. And anyway, so I think that is, oh yeah. And then I found doing search on how to actually install this stuff. I went way, way back. I think this is, what was the vintage on this? And Bob, I watched this whole 2-minute video, and you know how many times Jeff talked during this whole video?
No.
Well, let's see, get my calculator here.
Uh-oh.
Times divided by pi 0.
Really?
Uh,
How did that?
I don't know, but anyway, I think I've got some instructions that I can use. And
I know the whole point of this was not to be a tutorial or anything else. It's just simply that one number right over. There's one number that says heading, and it was the title said showing the heading on that. And the reason all this stuff evolved was I created that web page just like take little snippets so I could say, here, look at this picture I'm doing. And that's so that most of my stuff. And
so somewhere over here is heading. I can't really make it out with the,
yeah. And that's another problem going through all these video translations. If you would have pulled up that one on YouTube and possibly at that point say set it to high def, you might have been able to read that stuff. And then, but yeah, by the time this makes it to this week's meeting video, that's not going to be readable at all. So I got lots of just little snippets on my web page. It really aren't, I wasn't trying to be all that educational, informative. I just want to say, hey, it works. See, look at this.
Yeah.
So that's why the stuff was there.
That's all it takes.
So did you go out to I said, here, go search the ROS Agriculture Index for whatever, and it showed up like 12 entries. I was talking about moving baseline. Did you watch any of those?
I did, and I went back and it made a little bit of a list of all of those, and then went to the timestamp, and yeah, I didn't find much how to, so I just sort of went through a lot of the uBlox stuff and pieced some stuff together. But where, well, I'll go back and share real quick then. I am basically, I'm going to have one GPS that kicks out these two messages to get position and RTK status. And then to send UBX, 3 UBX messages, this one, and this PVT message out. And so, and then I've turned these ports off just to try to, I don't know if it's, you know, adjusting deck chairs on the Titanic or not. I don't know if it'll reduce the load or not, but that was the theory. And then they have, I don't know if they had this when you were messing around with them, but they have in their model settings for the NAV, this UBX NAV5 setting, they actually have a quote unquote mower drop down option. I mean, I guess you could, hopefully that'll help a little bit. And then on the quote unquote heading, I need to program or configure it to receive those 3 messages.
Go back and say that again.
Well, these are the 3 messages that are going to be coming in via the UART.
Okay,
And
on my one that was the moving baseline, I didn't configure anything. You simply, if it sees the correct messages coming in, it just uses them. You don't have to do anything. As long as you're receiving correction data on that UART, you don't have to turn messages on or off. It just simply, if it sees them, it goes, oh, I should do moving baseline, and it just simply works.
well, yeah, well, maybe if I had known all of that before, and then configure the heading to spit out this message. So as typical, I'm going to try the complicated way and see how it goes. Over to you, Bob.
Good. I didn't have much time over the last 2 weeks, but I did order knockoffs from the PCA9885 because those two have capacitors on them. The one I got from Adafruit doesn't, and it's recommended if you're going to run servos, very many servos, you should have a capacitor on there. So I'm going to compare one against the other, or two against the other. The other thing, I started playing with Copilot, which is a GitHub function, and it helps design your circuits or whatever. But it comes, you have to be real careful on the keywords that you use. You think you're going to, when you make a statement, you think you're going to get something in addition, and you don't. You have to be very specific. Like I wanted bookworm with Python environments, and the circuit came up and the software came up and everything was running, or I mean, it was listed. So I went into a terminal and I started cutting and copying and pasting line by line. And sure enough, I get halfway down the recommended script and in the terminal, and I said, oh, here's an error. You don't have GPIO. So now you have to go back and figure out, well, where do you put that in? You know, is that where you have to, and I think you have to load that in up at the global setting, or what I call global. You have to put it in on your Raspberry Pi. And then you call it once in the environment. So I'm still playing around with it. And the latest version, I'm trying to use a Bluetooth keyboard to control the servos. So I'll go through that script in the next couple of days and see how well it works or it doesn't work. But it seems kind of interesting because I'm not very good at coding, and it suggests the coding, and I can understand what it's trying to do rather than me going out there and say, well, how do I do this? Well, here's a sample, and I can putz around with that. So that's about all I got for now.
You want to show anything on the screen today, Bob?
I've got some clips or some screenshots. I'll hit share and then try and see if I can call it out of my pictures. Share photos. Oh, come on. There are photos. Okay. There's, how do I get it? Okay, I selected it. Now, how do I make it bigger?
It doesn't say in Zoom that you're trying to share yet. So have you clicked the share button on Zoom?
Yeah, I did. Share. No, let's see. I don't understand why it's not working. I can see the picture, but I don't know how it shares it.
In the Windows world, you're going to press share twice. You press share.
Oh, okay. No, not gonna do it. Well, I posted the clips or the screenshots on Slack. I'm gonna have to play around with this some more. Huh, now I can't even get out of it. Huh.
I can bring up the Slack
Yeah, why don't you do that?
stuff on this end if you want.
Yeah, if you would. Now I gotta figure out how to get out of this. Cancel. Okay, there. Okay. So let's go to the other one. Whoops.
You want to go back to that?
Yeah, if you would.
Pan tilt control.
Hmm.
Anything to say about this?
No, I better not until I find out how to do this share. Can you call up the Slack pictures that I posted?
You should be seeing them, Bob.
Not right now.
Jeff,
I can see them. Yeah.
Oh. Huh.
I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay.
Are you able to?
No, I don't see anything. I see the
I stopped sharing. Have you seen anything that I shared today?
Yes. Yeah, we've seen all that.
So
Then go down. Yeah, there we are. That's the start of it. Now there's 3 pictures. So if we start off with the far right one. Yeah. Okay, those are the key words that I type in. And then it comes back with the reply with a little monkey. It sounds like this is what you want to do. And then there gives a high level summary. So, and then a script after that. So we go to another one, another picture. And I think it's, yeah, we'll go to the one that the lower one alludes to the fact that the script is coming up, and you can expand that to see the entire code. We don't have to. Well, in fact, it's just, you can't do it with the picture. You have to do it on GitHub. Okay, then the third picture shows some of the code. But one thing I noticed right away is I don't see where it invokes the environment. So what I'll do is when I come in, I'll take one line at a time and paste it into the terminal and keep doing that. And then inevitably I get an error message, you didn't do this or you didn't do that. So then I'll go back to previous examples and say, oh, I forgot to put this in. At this point, this script is in the environment, and it should, I should have some code that sets up the environment first, so it tells a complete story. So
yeah, I mean, you can do it any way you want. I mean, this is a screen of, this happens to be a terminal window on mine, and I have a folder called Python. I don't know, it's probably pretty small.
okay,
And if I mean, here is a simple
okay,
program to read, and all of that code is in the file. And instead of typing it in one by one, then you would then execute a command like that and it would run the whole program.
yeah,
If I go back to, well, where was it? Oh, it was in Slack. So you see these 2 things over here?
yeah,
I mean, that first one is to copy all of that code. So you could copy all of it and paste it into an editor, or this is a download feature. So you could download it.
okay,
Now, depending on how you're viewing this, if you're in your, it's going to put it on whatever local machine you're interacting with. So I see Safari up here and I think you're on your iPad. I don't know,
yeah,
but
yeah,
just know you've got some jiggery pokery, all is the technical term, to get this, whatever this is, to your
yeah.
RPi.
Oh,
So that, again, if I go back to, an example terminal window, I don't enter commands one by one. I save the file and then
okay, yeah,
run the whole file with a command like that.
okay, I'll do that. I'll call that up on the Raspberry Pi. I use the iPad strictly as a kind of like a reader to kind of guide me what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But when I'm using that GitHub Copilot, I'm on the Raspberry Pi. So I have multiple windows. I can cut and paste each line. So I'm not typing each letter. I'm just copying and pasting into the terminal. But I like your way of doing it better. Just make it into a file, and that way I can go back and edit and then rerun the whole thing.
Are you familiar with the term a hello world program?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's useful to, I might personally, I would start with that just to get it to work the way you,
Yeah.
so you're confident that it's working the way that you
Yeah.
want it to work. I mean, I was going back today on this and saying, okay, give me a blink. You know, I was just trying to get blink to work.
Sure.
Just to make sure I could remotely log in and get the program down to the Teensy and get it to work. I mean, I'm doing that. Well, maybe more than I would care to admit, just to make sure things are connected and talking to each other.
Yeah. Well, I might have some more time the next couple of days now that things have settled down.
Well, if you see that I'm online and you want, any suggestions, I mean, I'm happy to get on a call with you.
Will do.
If I'm not going down a rabbit hole looking at Raspberry Pi ham radio
Yep.
SDR hats.
So to clarify this, you say you're using GitHub Copilot. So I just signed it. I just went to a browser, typed in github.com, and it says, here, we'll put this up on the screen. Blah, blah, blah. Come on. I need to restart my computer. Everything's running slow. So anyway, take this, move it over here. And let's do this. Move this over here. What screen am I on? Nothing's showing up.
Uh-oh.
Well, it's still putting on a black screen, so I don't know here. Okay, so that one is. I think I'm sure I'm on the wrong screen. Let me try the other screen.
I just went into a browser and I think it was Firefox. Just typed in GitHub, called up the site, and there it was.
There, I think my computer, my computer's running again. Let me try this again. So go here, and desktop. Now I want this one, and there we go. Okay, so I went in and just said, go to github.com, and it says,
Oh.
it said here you can sign in if you want, or try GitHub. So GitHub Copilot. So I clicked on that.
Yep.
And it says blah blah. Try it free for 30 days. Do you know what it is after? If you have to pay for it, do you know what it?
I don't know. I haven't used that screen.
Okay, so anyway, so it says try now, and then it'll go on and say,
Oh, that's the Pro. Yep.
oh, so you can use it for free forever if you don't use the professional one. Let's see what this does. See if it'll let me in.
Oh.
Oh, it's not. I'm not gonna do this, I guess.
Let's see. Well,
So, anyway, that's how far I got with it.
yeah.
You kept saying to use it, but there was no indication of where it was. So while you were talking, I went and poked around and
Yeah.
found out I could get to something. And so, but I got the thing and said, oh, you can try it free for 30 days. And I didn't know, what that
There's
meant.
another version that just popped up when I went into my browser. I just typed literally GitHub. It called up the GitHub site, and Copilot was in the upper corner. And I just started typing in Copilot and pushed it from there. Oh.
Okay.
Maybe it's some kind of fluke with my browser or something. I don't know.
And on a related note, when we just had our robot reunion thing a couple weeks ago, So we're sitting around the table, says, oh, anybody tried that AI code generation stuff? And
Yeah.
one person, oh yeah, I tried it and I tried to get it to do this. I typed this in and he says, try to run it. He says, well, here, let me think about that for a while. Kind of like a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. He says, can you give us the answer to life, the universe, and everything? He says, well, let me think about it. How long did it take? It's 7 million years or something. Anyway, he said he put the stuff in and it wouldn't give him the answer. And he says, he'd go back and check. He says, oh, I'm still thinking about it. Just give me some time here. And he said like 2 or 3 days later, he realized the thing was just lying to him. It wasn't even going to attempt to fix it. He just kept saying, "Oh no, just don't go away. Just hang on there." So,
Let's string it up.
I don't know if he ever got it to do anything or not. So I thought it was kind of humorous. I've never tried any of this stuff, so I don't know anything about it.
I'll try it again this week. I just want to. I think I might try and compare Copilot with the previous example that I did get running to see if Copilot can mimic what I know works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all of that sounds fine to me, Bob. The part that sticks in my head is this typing in one line at a time. I hate to see you doing that. So I would say, let's figure out how to.
I'll go to the point of making it a file that I can just load and.
Okay.
And you were making the comment, you type it in a line at a time and it's come up and say, oh, I can't find this thing. Well, even if it's a big file and you execute it, it's going to stop at that point and say, oh, I couldn't find that line. So it's not, so you don't really have to, you just enter it a line at a time.
Okay, I'll do that then.
But keep in mind, as I've never done any of this before. So, but you know, just generally speaking, that's usually the way it works.
Yep. Oh, that's
Got anything else?
I'm all set.
That's about all I got.
Okay, I'll hit the right button this time.